Hi everyone, this is Denise with Creates with Love, and welcome back to my channel. And I hope you're having a terrific day. Now, a little while ago, I did a video tutorial on how to take your sewing pattern PDF file and take a screenshot of it, and then be able to upload that screenshot for each pattern piece up into Design Space and save it as a cut image, and then how to add markings and so on if you needed to by just kind of eyeballing it. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to take the screenshot of a pattern piece, upload it into Design Space, but we're going to upload it as a print then cut image. Then we're going to change it to a cut image before we cut out our pattern pieces. So that is what this tutorial is all about. And I want to thank the ladies who asked for this video. So this is for you and for everybody else. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so first of all, we need a pattern piece. Let me go ahead and minimize Design Space. I actually have a pattern piece right here. This is a witch hat that we're going to upload. This is only a 2 pattern piece for the entire pattern. So I'm going to get the screenshot now. So I use Snippet for Windows. If you don't have it here in your taskbar, you can go to search here and type in snip. Once it's here, you can right click it and you can either pin it to your start menu, or right here you would have an option to pin to your taskbar. So that's how you would access that. If you are on a Mac computer, you want to use your Command Shift plus your 4 key, and that will get your screenshot for there. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to take the screenshot. All we have to do is make sure we get the whole pattern piece in the picture plus this 1-inch mark. Okay, it's important. This pattern piece with this square, and then we're going to get this pattern piece with the same square. Okay, I actually already have them here, but I just want to show you real quick how to do a screenshot. So we're going to click the snippet tool, click new, and I want to make sure I get clear from this side all the way to down here and this top. So I'm just going to go from the top here, drag it all the way down to that square. Okay, I'm going to click File, Save As, and I'm going to just go pattern 1 because I already have the one saved that I'm going to use, and it's going to save to my desktop. Close this, we don't need it, and minimize this, we don't need it. Okay, so now let me show you what I would do with that pattern piece. Okay, so now it's time to upload this into Design Space. We have our screenshot now, so click on Upload, because that's exactly what we're going to do. We can't upload a PDF. As you see, it's not here. That screenshot takes what's called a PNG, or you could have saved it as a JPEG. I just left it as a PNG. So I'm going to click on Upload Image, and you can either browse for it. I like to just grab it and bring it in. So as soon as this turns green, you can let go. For this one, I'm going to choose Complex because I pretty much always do. And then what we're going to do here is we want to remove the background, right? Because we don't want this white color to come with us. So we want to select here and click in anywhere in this open background. Okay, we want to keep this square and we want to keep this brim, but we don't want this and we don't want the wording. So I'm going to select my erase tool. I'm going to make my eraser bigger, and I'm just going to erase all of this out. If it stops erasing, just click again and it'll start again. And you can see this process can go really quick. Just be careful when you get to the edges. I'm going to show you what happens if you accidentally go like this. It's like, oh no, it's not ruined. Just go up to here and hit the back arrow. It'll fix it for you. Okay, so once we get this done, we want to click on Preview to see how it looks. Okay, and for the most part, this looks pretty good. There's some spots here. Let me make this eraser smaller. There's some spots that are really kind of jagged that you could click on. Chances are it's not going to cut your fabric, but just in case, I like to go through and just take some of the obvious ones out. Okay, so you could go through and do all of them if you want. I like to leave it, I just only take the obvious spikes out for this type of a project. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and click continue. I like it. Now here's your choice. You can either save it as a cut image and this writing will not follow you into Design Space. You will get only a black image to start with. If you select print then cut image, this writing will follow with you, but as you know, you can't throw your fabric through the printer, at least not in 2021. It would not surprise me if in the future we'll be able to. But for now, the reason I like to select this one is I want the writing to follow me into Design Space so I can make some precise markings with my fabric marker pen. Okay, so I'll show you what I'm referring to. This is my preferred method if you just kind of want to eyeball your markings, and you can still make markings on it. So this is the quickest, easiest way, but this is the way to do it if you really are particular about exactly where this notch is going to be, that type of deal. Okay, because in some patterns, it's real specific where you need to put a notch or what have you. Okay, so here we are. It's already selected because it's got the green box around it. Let me just go ahead and name it since it's not named. Okay, witch hat brim. I'm going to click upload. It's going to bring this into Design Space or bring it into here. But let's go ahead and bring in our second pattern piece just so we'll have it here. So even though I've already taken a screenshot of it earlier, let's go ahead and upload this one. And I'm going to put witch hat crown, drop it, complex, continue. And so we only want the bottom piece and we want this square. So we're going to do the select and erase to get rid of the background. And then we're going to hit our eraser, make it bigger. And we're just going to get rid of all of this writing. And the top piece. Okay, to check to make sure it looks clean, we click preview and we can see we got some more of those little spikies, but they're not really. In fact, let me just show you what happens if you don't remove them. That way you have an example. So I'm going to click on continue. And again, we're going to select the print then cut image. And then it's already named witch hat crown. And we're going to click upload. So here are the two pieces we just uploaded. Let's go ahead and select them both and insert images. It's going to bring both of those images into Design Space, and both of them are going to have the 1-inch square piece. So now what I like to do if I have multiple pattern pieces is I go ahead and I have them, or I keep them grouped together. And the reason I do that is so that I can size them together. So I'm just going to select them both. And then we want to make this 1-inch square match the same size as the Cricut Design Space square. So we do that by bringing this arrow out. And we just want to place it there. And actually, that looks pretty darn good. Right about there. Okay, so that looks good. This square is matched up to this inch, so we know that both of these pattern pieces are sized perfectly. And that's what we want. So once this happens, I would go ahead and group these together. And then I would duplicate the group. I would turn one of those groups off. So now we just have one of the groups and we're going to go ahead and ungroup them so we can work with them. Now, the reason why I made an extra group and then just turned it off is I just want to know that they're going to be there perfectly sized in case while I'm working with this file, maybe I accidentally bring this in or out. That will mess up our pattern piece size, okay? So what we need to do now is separate these two. Let me just get this one out. So what we need to do, when you upload a pattern as a PDF with a print and cut choice, you lose your option to contour out the square. As you can see, when I click on this, I have no options available to me. So when we upload like this, it's really easy. All we need to do is use the slice method to get rid of this sizing square. So just click a shape over here. I'm going to select a square. I'm going to put this square on top of the little square. And then I'm going to select the square and this pattern piece here by holding the Shift key and then selecting the witch hat brim. You can select it either here or over here. Once these two are selected, I can click slice. Okay, so now these are separated. This I can rubber band my mouse around them and just hit close and it'll take away. So this, as long as I don't accidentally do this, this piece is perfectly sized. Okay, so let's go down to this one. We're going to do the same thing. It's already sized. We just need to grab a shape, grab a square, put it over this square, and then it's already selected. So now we just need to select the witch hat crown over here while holding your Shift key, and then you can slice. Once you've sliced it, you can rubber band your mouse around the two squares and hit close, and that'll delete them. So here we have our two pattern pieces ready to go. I'm just going to move this one down. Okay, so let's work on this one first. So as you can see, let's just say I was really adamant about making sure that this little notch was marked onto my fabric perfect, right? We can see that we need to place on fold and we also need to cut two on the fold. So what I would do is take this, go ahead and duplicate it. So instead of placing on fold, which we know we can't, we're going to go ahead and make this a complete circle as if it was cut out on a fold with our fabric. So I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to go up to flip and I'm going to flip vertically. And I'm going to bring this down and match it up. You want to just get it as close as you can. If you don't butt it up all the way, as you can see, I've got a little bit of space. So let me show you what happens if it doesn't butt up all the way. If I click my rubber band or rubber band my mouse around so that I select both pieces, if I hit weld, look, I've got a little space there. We don't want that. Okay, that's what happens if they're not butted up perfectly straight. So let me undo that. So let me just take this and I'm going to make it just a little bit closer together and I'm going to test it. It's still a little bit away. So let me do that again. Okay, and test it. Okay, so that's perfect. So that is good. So let me just go ahead and backspace. I don't want to keep it welded. I just want to make sure it was perfectly together. Now that I know that this is sized together perfectly, I'm going to select them both and I'm going to group them together. That way I can move it as one piece and it'll follow me. But they're not welded yet. This is just our template so that we can make our markings on our next pattern piece. And I'll show you how to do that. So it's ready to go. I'm going to hit duplicate again. I'm going to move this down a little bit. So what I'm going to do, it's the same as this one. I'm going to go ahead and weld it together. Now we have the one perfect pattern piece that's been placed on the fold. So this is how it will cut on your Cricut mat. And I'm just going to change this from a print then cut file. And this is where we change it to a basic cut file. So go to cut and then choose basic. Now I'm going to change the color just to make it a little bit user friendly for me to look at. So now I can place my markings. So what I like to do is group them together again and then align them perfectly centered. Now I'm going to select off of it, and then I'm going to select just this top one, and I'm going to use my arrow key to make just the top one go up so I can see that notch. Okay, so everything's still lined up, and now we know we can place our notch right here to use with our fabric marker. So I'm going to select a shape. I'm going to select a triangle. I'm going to make it smaller. You can make it whatever size you like, or you could even choose a different shape. So you're going to put it right as close as you can to that line. And you can also remember you can use your arrow key if you like. That's a little bit too close to the edge because we want to make sure that the pen does right on the fabric, and that's too far away. So I'm going to use my mouse to make it just come down just a little bit and a little bit more. Okay, so that looks good. So now this is right here. If you look up here, it's a basic cut, right? We don't want to cut this. We want to draw it. So we're going to change this triangle from a basic cut. So go to the operation, click the drop down and choose draw and choose pen. Then you want to go to the square. This allows you to select which pen you're going to use. I know that the fabric marking pen is a medium-sized marker, so I'm going to select anywhere in this box, and I'm going to choose M marker, and then I'm going to choose blue washable fabric. So now you can see it changed to that, but it's still not attached to that. It's just floating in there. If I was to click it and move it, it would move. We want to attach it to the actual uh, pattern piece. But before we do that, let's take this notch and let's duplicate it. And then we're going to flip it because remember, we want to put one down at the bottom. So we're going to flip it vertically and then use my down arrow key to move that out of the way. Okay, so now this one, we want to go ahead and attach it so that we can move this. So we click this, the triangle marking, and we hold our shift key and click on the yellow basic cut, and then we choose attach. And what that just did was it attached our marking to our pattern. So if I move this now, it moves with us, and that will follow you when you move your pattern. So let's line this up perfectly again in case it really matters for your type of pattern. Otherwise, you can just eyeball things and move things around. So we're going to align center, and then I'm going to click off of it and then click just the top piece. Oops. And then I'm going to click the down arrow. Okay, so that looks good. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm just going to bring it down. I'm using my arrow key, but you can use your mouse if you like. It went behind, so I'm going to go up to arrange and send to front. Okay, that actually looks good, but I'm going to bring it down just a little bit more. About like that. Okay, that looks good. So now I want to attach this notch to our pattern piece. So go ahead and select this one. Hold down my shift key and select my basic circle and attach because we already made sure that it was a draw type file. All right, so there we go. This one is really done. So we don't really need this anymore. but you can save it if you like, and you can do that by selecting on it and just turning it off. That way it's not in your way. So you would want to cut two of these, right? It said cut two on the fold. So you would take this one and duplicate it. And now you've got two. If if one needed to be a different color fabric, you would change the color up in the line type or operation type, but this is fine. Let's go ahead and do this one. So this one is a place on fold on the corner. So let me show you how to do that one. And it's going to have a notch, and then of course, if we place it on a fold, it's going to have another notch. So let's go ahead and do this one. I'm going to go ahead and first of all, I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to flip vertically. What I like to do is turn, when I have this shape, I like to kind of turn it, makes it easier to line up my pieces together. And then take this one and move it around. And it's okay to move them around. It's just we don't want to move the size in or out. Otherwise, we'd have to go back and start over with that one that we had turned off. So you just want to line it as good as you can without overlapping too much. That actually looks really good. I'm going to test it. Remember how we test welded it? Oops, I actually clicked on it instead of around it. Okay, let's, oh, that one looks a little bit off. Okay, so let me test this one. So I'm gonna, oop, I did it again. I think it's actually Design Space messing up. It's been a little temperamental lately. Let's try a different way. Let's go ahead and select this, hold down my shift key and hold this, and then choose weld. Okay, that actually looks good. We've got a nice clean line there, but we don't want to weld it yet. We just wanted to test and make sure it's perfectly sized. Now that we know it is, hit the back arrow. And then instead, we want to group them. So select both pieces again and then group. That way we can move it around if we need to. So now what we want to do is duplicate this, but I want to line it. I want to, because our notches are important to us, we want to make this pattern so it's easy to move one piece up from the other. So what I want to do is kind of line this line up with the Design Space line, and then we know everything looks really good. We've got something easy to work with so we can line up our notches perfectly. And this one is just cut one out. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate it, right? Because that first one is just our template to see where our markings go. This one we're going to change to a cut file. So we go up to the operation, hit the drop down box, and choose cut and then basic. And then we want to weld it together. There we go. We've got our perfectly sized pattern piece that's been welded. Now we're going to select it and then go up, and I'm just going to change the color to make it more pleasing to my eye. And again, don't worry about these. If it was to cut this way, you could always do a test cut. I don't think the cut's going to cut jagged. I think it's just, this is such an old pattern that this is following into Design Space. As you can tell, these looked really good. So if this was to cut jagged, then I would go back into Design Space, and at that first part where we were cleaning up the file, you could take more of these jags out. All right, so here we go. We've got our piece. All we need to do now, I'm going to click on the canvas to get rid of this box here. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to align it. I'm going to center it just like we did the other one. We're going to align and then center and then click off of it. And then now I want to move it perfectly up. And now we know exactly where these notches are going to go. So just like before, you grab a shape, grab a triangle, make it smaller. And once I have the size that I want, what I like to do, I'm going to need 3 of these, and I want them all to draw, so it's time saving for me. Make it a little bit smaller. It's time saving for me to first click it, change it to a draw with a pen, change your marker. So you want to go to the square, change it from fine point to marker, and then choose blue washable fabric. Now that I have this set as a marker that's going to draw, that's when I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it. That way I don't have to repeat that process 2 more times. So it's already selected, so I'm going to duplicate it twice. And then now you're just basically going to take these notches and line them up as best as you can to match with the notches that are on the other one. And you can make it bigger if you want to make it easier on the eye. It doesn't make the actual, anything bigger. It just makes our canvas bigger so that we can see it better. And then something to keep in mind too is that I would suggest when you mark your fabric, if you can, I would turn your fabric upside down when you're placing it on the Cricut mat. So the part of the fabric that you plan to be cut side down, right? So pretty side, you want to put the pretty side of the fabric that's going to be the outside of your witch's hat. You want to put that face down on your Cricut mat so that when you draw on your fabric, it actually draws on the back side of it, if that makes sense. That's what I would do, but you can decide what you want to do. It's just a great suggestion, I think. Okay, so mark this one here, bring it down just a little bit more. And then this one here, just bring down. It actually looks really good. Okay, so now that I have them in place where I want them to go, it's easiest for me to just go on up to, they're right here. So I'm going to click one, hold down the shift key, click the second one and the third one and the green pattern piece. Now that they're all selected, hit attach. Okay, so now this is perfectly ready to go. We're only going to cut one, so we're good to go. I can select this one and I can turn this off because we're not going to need it, or I can delete it. It's up to you. So here are the 2 pieces we needed to be cut on fold, and we've prepped them so they're ready to go. And then this is the other pattern piece that we only need to cut one of. So this is all perfectly ready to go. I'm not going to cut it out on fabric. This was just to show you how to set it up to go forward, and then you would put your fabric on your Cricut mat. But let me just go ahead and click on Make It. And then this is just to show you that okay, so it's letting us know that one of our images is larger than 11.5 inches in height or width. Select OK. So that one, I want to go back. Let me make this smaller. I'm going to turn this around. I want to see what this is. Okay, so that is a little bit bigger. So this particular pattern piece, you would actually need a longer mat because it's just slightly over. Depending on your doll size, you might be able to make it a little bit smaller to get right because it needs to be 11.5. But that is why I just want to show you that is why it's showing, because no matter how we tilt this pattern, it does go over. The size limit is 11.5 for cutting out. Okay, so let me click on Make It. And again, it's going to pin, use the pin and a basic cut. Same thing with this one, pin and the basic cut. And same thing with this one, you use your larger Cricut mat to cut this out. And then just to let you know what this is just letting you know that this project requires using a fabric marking pen. So make sure you use a fabric marking pen and not a regular Cricut pen. And then, of course, if you have another fabric marking pen that fits in your Cricut uh, side A clamp, then feel free to test that out, maybe on a scrap piece of fabric, and see if your fabric marker might indeed fit in clamp A. So keep that in mind. Um, I would, the beauty of marking on the fabric with the Cricut is that it's more like a felt type pen marker. It's not a ballpoint. So depending on what type of pen, it may or may not work with the Cricut. So I just want to give you a heads up there. But if you happen to know of one that fits Cricut, leave it in the description to help others out too, in case you have a wonderful tip on that. All right, so let me just cancel this out. I hope that this helped you. I'm trying to think. I don't think there was anything else. Somebody else did request for me to do the same type of um, uploading PDFs using an iPad. And so that will be one of my future videos as well. Instead of doing it from a desktop computer, show you how to do it with an iPad. All right. So, yay. Happy sewing and happy cricketing. Everybody have a great day. And remember to create with love. Bye.